Dude, my arms were sore. I found a technique where I stuck the end of the flagpole sort of in my belly button, and that helped take some of the weight off my arms.
I'm not sure what I wanted you to say, but I'm so glad you said belly button.
I will say this about game day too. That I did get a contingent of Washington fans to start embracing Oregon State, and they found out no one from Washington knew what Chapa meant. So I did explain it to a number of people. They know now. They didn't know that it was affiliated with Oregon State. So when they did know was when the panel started making the picks for the UCLA Oregon State game, and every time they played Oregon State, I'd scream, and people started to sort of figure it out. And they embraced me when everyone was looking at me, and I said, "We fucking hate the Ducks too," and it just garnered a round of applause from anyone that was in the vicinity. So I think I made a couple of Beaver fans over the weekend.
There you go. And Washington State fans have to understand that you need allies in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Well, good on you. You confirmed earlier, I think we weren't recording, that you did manage to stay awake for the entirety of the Beaver game, correct?
I did. Yeah. When we got done with college game day, it really was like the anticipation and the anxiousness and the excitement of the Beaver game. I couldn't go to sleep. So thanks, DJU and crew. Thanks for being so exciting this year.
We will get into that and more, but had to start with our man, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage, Game Day Benny, as he might be referred to, at least for another week. He was the one waving the Chapman flag. I think I saw you waving the damn flag at another point too. And there is a lot of, I noticed multiple Oregon State flags there. I know there was one that claimed the life of a poor flagpole because of when fabric gets rained on, it gets heavier. Science says that we learned that the hard way.
That flag was so big
at Red Square this week.
It was huge.
Also, some drama over the weekend. JP, it looks like your house, electricity has been restored to the Bertram household. Yes. We can see you. Lights are on. Your mic is connected. Hair is still blonde, and it's
yes,
it's looking fantastic.
Thank you.
And you were at the game on Saturday.
I was at the game. Yeah, it was a great time. Not fun to come back and find out that your breaker was fried. We have work happening on our garage still, and the breaker blew while we were out of town, so our contractor went down to turn it back on, and something gargled and made some scary noises.
Gargled.
So we had.
I don't know what that means, but I can figure it's not good.
You don't really want electricity to ever make noise, and if it does, it's probably true. Bad. So half of our house is on the same breaker that blew, including like our internet modem and the basement. So we're back. We're working, we're operative, and after a very fun and wild weekend in Corvallis, it's feeling good to be home and relaxing.
That is why we are recording on Monday, October 16th, and not Sunday, October 15th, but that's okay. I'm glad everything is up and running. That sounds terrifying. Like if someone just told me, new homeowner scaries over here, that like your breaker is fried, I'd be like, okay. I'd have no idea what the next step is.
Okay.
Speaking of
what
noises,
about if it was gargling?
My furnace just started making noise, and I already had an appointment scheduled for it to be looked at because I'm assuming it's a pretty old furnace. I know a little bit about it from like the previous like home report or whatever. For the day we get back from Vegas on a week from today, Monday, October 23rd. And it's not making any like crazy noises, but it's like every now and then it like starts like talking or whatever. Like the furnace in Home Alone where he gets scared in the basement. It's like, hello, Kevin. So it just starts doing that. And I'm like, shut up. Because that worked for Kevin McAllister in the movie. And so far it's working right now. But I don't think that is the professional recommended way to go about it for the long term. So hopefully there's nothing wrong with it, and it's just, it's waking up after a long summer and fall in the Midwest and getting ready to get me through the winter, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for you.
I feel like Minneapolis is probably the city in the United States that you need your heater to be properly functioning the most.
I bet like the first furnace inventor like lived here and was just like, holy shit, this town is a gold mine.
This is good.
Can you imagine cornering the furnace market in Minneapolis, Minnesota in whatever year the furnace was invented? This might be the part of the podcast where I won't do that yet. We got
look at those dummies going to California looking for gold.
Yeah,
it's right here.
Sell giant machines powered by coal that are half the size of your house. This isn't going to burn anything down. Great business decision. And I will use another great business decision to get us further towards the meat of this episode. One of the best decisions ever in the history of organized sports. JP, I'm going to ask you something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please play 5 seconds of I'm Coming Home by Diddy Dirty Money and Skylar Grey?
I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming
in honor of Oregon State's homecoming, in honor of Bernice Beaver returning to the field at Reser Stadium. The rumors were true. The truck pulled onto the field. Benny the Beaver, not Benny Blastoff, Benny Burner, Benny Bullgame, Benjamin Lawrence, Sebastian Weehage, Benny with the good quaff. Benny the Beaver opened the door and out popped the one and only Bernice Beaver. It only took 111 episodes. Specifically the episode when we learned about this and turned that one episode into a true crime podcast, Unsolved Mysteries episode. Hitting up the Oregon State Athletic Department with requests time and time again, asking the great Sarah Elcano in the Oregon State Athletic Department, can we get Bernice? Can she come back? Where is she? Just if you have any ears or eyes on Bernice, just let her know she's missed and she's welcome back anytime. It didn't seem like it could happen, but God damn it, it did. Bernice Beaver at Reser Stadium. JP, you were in the house. You were there.
Yeah.
You saw her with your eyes.
Yep. I saw her with my eyes.
Moment like when Bernice came out.
Man, it was so electric. I think there was definitely rumblings of a return, right? And Sarah teased it on the Joe Beaver show, I believe, earlier in the week. And they did it at the perfect time, though. It was just like a moment where no one was like, oh, it's halftime, something big's going to happen. But it was like still a positive momentum swing in the game. So it just was like all this came to fruition and came to a head at the same time. The crowd went nuts. And it was like really well played by the athletic department. Of course, not only was the arrival really well thought out, and she pops out, she runs over to Benny. They start breaking into dance together, like choreographed dance, and she's got the right motions and moves. Definitely studied up, on like, all right, what is Bernice's like persona, and they modernized it as well. I mean, the amount of work that must have gone into this, from what I've been able to gather as well, was one of those things where it wasn't certain that it was still going to even be pulled off. We've heard rumors, prior Benny will later, that Bernice does exist in Gill. Did, at least at that time, that he had donned the uniform of Benny the Beaver and was in terrible shape. That claim had been confirmed by others as well, who had seen the mascot that she once was, and it completely deteriorated. There were a lot of people behind the scenes that had to put in a lot of last minute work to get the head spruced up and ready to roll. It was the same head that was last used 30 years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yes.
Because it looked fantastic.
It looked fantastic.
It really did.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've heard, it was actually Sarah's husband who put in some late hours to get that, get the helmet or the head viable. And yeah, I mean, just so many people who were backing it, behind it, within the athletic department. Sarah pushing for it to make it a reality, and really leaned on the Beaver Nation. I mean, like, we were all a voice for this to try to get this done, to bring her back, that there was a desire for her to be on the court, in the field, on the pitch, and she ran with it. So kudos to Sarah for making that happen, for listening to the fans and having a pulse on the fans' desires and interests. And yeah, I mean, like I said, no small feat. Everyone seemed to be thrilled. The lines to meet Bernice, they were massive. And one immediately noticeable thing was how many kids were in line, but also how many like little girls were in line to meet her. And I just thought that was like so unique, because I saw it firsthand. It's not the same if you're a little girl and you meet a mascot, but it's clearly supposed to be a boy dressed up for a sport that most women don't play, girls don't play. Like, you don't have anyone to look at and say, like, yeah, see, this is I should be here. I should like this. I should want to learn more and play it, whatever. But Bernice kind of filled that void for people, I think. And so, like, even after the game, my little Penelope was like, I'm not afraid of girl Benny. I'm not afraid of girl Benny. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, I don't like boy Benny. I'm afraid of boy Benny. I'm not afraid of girl Benny. I like girl Benny. And like, just, it was immediately clear that this was a very impactful moment for a lot of people and a lot of young people. So I hope she sticks around. From different things I've read through Twitter and social media, it's still TBD on how much she would be around. Sarah posted something on Twitter, like they're negotiating the terms of her semi-retirement.
Saw that. Semi-unretirement.
Yeah, I hope she sticks around. And on that retirement note, sorry to Stan Hagen. First, shout out Stan Hagen and family for being honored on the field at the game as fourth generation. There's 11 Hagens on the field. It's like fourth generation Beavers. So very cool to see them get the deserving honor. Unfortunately, Stan made a bet that if Bernice came out of retirement, he would also go back to work. So
what? I saw that.
His tweet after the game was, well, it looks like I'm headed back to work on Monday. So,
oh, no. Don't do it, Stan.
We're hiring, Stan. We'll let you, we'll send you some merch, and we just ask that you wear it next to your inflatable Benny on game days.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a job.
Influencer.
Yeah.
We could probably, organize some PTO and some healthcare benefits to go along with that. We'll discuss that at our next board meeting. But great perspective, JP. That's definitely like, we really, we didn't start the Bring Back Bernice movement, but we obviously joined in full force, and it's fun and it's silly, but also the look on your daughter's face seeing her, like it's very real as well. Like, I've seen your child terrified of Benny the Beaver. Like, I've been present when she thought this giant beaver is going to murder me. Yeah. And she would tell me fun. Weeks later, I don't want to boop Benny's nosy. I don't want to boop Benny's nosy. And you should want to boop the beaver's nosy. So having Bernice there, and some fly Air Maxes too, and a great jacket. Bernice looked great. Yeah. Agreed. That's like retirement. Hey, Bernice, whatever beach you're on, it's working. So fun, but also important. And it sounds like Scotty B loved it. So I think we'll continue to see Bernice more and more at things. I know there are a lot of moving parts to make that a full-time move, but I'm glad they listened to the fans, and just seeing the reaction in all of the videos that have been posted is awesome. Yeah. And the video that Oregon State posted themselves was man, we've talked about it before, but Oregon State's social media team is a godsend. They've been awesome. They are killing it. So with that, let's move into the Reagan Beers segment so that we can indeed we are obviously toasting to Bernice Beaver on this homecoming edition of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast, the 112th episode of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast. Thank you for being with us again, dear listener. JP, I've seen you take a couple sips out of a can I do not recognize, and I would like to know what it is, my good friend. It's a Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest fest beer. Oh, okay. That is seasonally appropriate. I know. I've been dying to find a good seasonal fall beer, and
This one I actually purchased earlier or late last week when my sister and brother-in-law and niece and nephew were in town. To get some good festive beers to enjoy for this nice fall weekend we had. I was informed by my brother-in-law that these sell out in California like all the time. And I mean, for better or worse, I don't know if you really want to compare apples to apples, the beer selection in Portland or Oregon in general to California. But I would say if it sells out, it's probably pretty decent, even in Oregon standards. So I went and got it, and it is really good. It's a good little fest beer, 6% too. So sometimes you get one of those like Oktoberfest beers, like 4%. You're like, this is good. But, yeah, like I would rather just go drink some water, maybe. But yeah, this one's good.
Well, keeps you hydrated, keeps you healthy, keeps the blood flowing.
I hope it keeps the blood flowing.
Excellent.
Be bad news if it wasn't.
I feel like I haven't been asking
your
untapped scores lately. I feel like I'm dropping the ball on that. What would this get on Untapped?
Let me see. I think I gave it a 4.1 or 3.9. It was just around a 4.
It's percentage.
Yeah, 3.9. Round it up. It's a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this before. You've answered this question, but what's the highest score you've ever given on Untapped?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I've given it out like a 4.7. Oh, I gave Pliny the Younger a 4.8.
Okay. I still haven't had that. When I was my hotel was 2 blocks away from Russian River in Santa Rosa. They didn't have Pliny the Younger. They had Pliny the Elder, which I had before, but never in the tap room of the brewery, and it was delicious. But I've heard great things about Pliny the Younger as well.
Yeah. Well, when it's a triple IPA that tastes like IPA.
Magic.
Yeah. It is just magic.
I believe that's called triple stamping a double stamp, and you're not supposed to be able to do that, but apparently Russian River pulled it off.
Yeah.
Benjamin Lawrence, Sebastian Weehage, you are in the midst of still recovering.
Yep.
Catching up on sleep, as that great urban myth is. I will remind you that about 5 days from now, we will all be in Las Vegas, Nevada together for your long-awaited bachelor party. That's how, you know what? It's a bye week. We should be resting up, maybe take an episode off or something like that. Get right, get healthy. Nope, we're going to Vegas. JP has already said we're recording in Vegas, so our mics are coming with us.
That will be a fun episode.
No rest for the wicked.
Which is why I'll be locking myself in a coffin for the next 4 days in preparation. Because I will tell you, that sounds so intimidating right now with how tired I am. But I'm excited.
What do you have right now? Do you have like some kind of are you just drinking melatonin to the dome right now? What's your vice tonight?
So here is just, I guess, something that's interesting. I had never smoked a blunt before this weekend.
Wait, what?
Swear. I never. I'd never done it. I'd only smoked joints and taken edibles or smoked out of a pipe, but I'd never smoked a blunt. So now I can relate to my top 50 favorite rap songs, which is great. And I smoked one tonight, which is why I was telling the story. But it was a while ago, so I wouldn't consider that a vice. I am still hungry though, and I guess my vice would be this Merci chocolate, which is really good, and I've been trying to eat healthy. So.
Wait, is Merci chocolate a kind of health chocolate?
No, I'm just saying it's my vice because it is chocolate.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been slamming that Peloton in preparation for Vegas.
You have. Mine's still broken, but that's okay.
What? Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. That has to be fixed.
Part of it's been I've been lazy and yelling at them, but that's another story.
You just have too much fun yelling at them.
Oh my God.
It is fun.
You've never smoked a blunt before this weekend?
Ever? Nope, I've never done it.
I get you. The last time I smoked with you, that's correct. Those were joints.
They're big joints.
When we did our Oregon State basketball summit in February of 2022, And I was hoping to talk about that at the end of the episode in a hardwood section, but OSCBeavers.com still doesn't have the women's basketball schedule posted, or they have the non-conference but not the conference schedule posted. And I'm trying to figure out a weekend where we can do that again. But those were joints. Those weren't blunts. You are correct. Yeah. All right. Well, good for you. Well, welcome to the fascinating world of being able to understand your favorite rap songs. I feel like you must really love Andre Nicotina now. It's been almost 3 years of referencing Andre Nicotina songs. You really spoke like a man who understood smoking blunts, Benny.
I understand all of them now.
Okay, yeah. And I'm out, half a blunt hanging out my mouth. It's just,
so cool.
Totally opens up the entire catalog. Well, you guys have noticed probably on Zoom. The listeners have not, as they can't see me because it is a podcast for your ears and not for your eyes, as Benny famously said once. But this is a wine night in my household tonight. I was making kind of a healthy dinner tonight. And just was like, you know what, I'm going to have a glass of wine with this. And then I finished and I was like, let's just keep drinking this bottle of wine here.
Oh, yeah.
There's still a bit left. As you can see, I'm not going crazy. But it's a Cabernet from Kind Stranger, which is in Benton City, Washington.
I've never heard of it.
Washington State, a state that Benny lives in, and a state with a football team that we don't really love or like these days, but they beat a football team that we like a lot less on Saturday. So I looked at the state that this wine came from, and I was like, that's the one for tonight.
I gotta have it.
Gotta have it. And it went really well with the healthy dinner of chicken and sweet potatoes and other oven roasted veggies that I had made for myself. So
nice.
Felt like an adult, and I still feel like an adult sipping out of this nice wine glass too. It's weird to be making the show and drinking wine out of a wine glass and not Bud Light out of his tall boy. But
man, buying houses, drinking wine out of wine glasses.
I'll make like 10 fart jokes in the next statement to even it out. So sorry if we appear too snooty on this episode. We're still the same guys. Just got a few more champagne problems now. Can't ask JP to play 5 seconds of champagne problems because when we play T Swift, the Russians get mad at our YouTube for some reason.
Vladimir's the big Swiftie.
Vladimir's a big Swiftie and will not stand us taking any clicks off Russian IP addresses. So let's raise our glasses and our cans and our Macy chocolates. To the one, the only, the long-awaited, and welcome back, Bernice Beaver.
Yes,
let's go.
Cheers.
That was so cool to see.
It really was.
I can't remember when the last time I had her, but it is like such a vague, distant memory. So yeah, it was awesome to see her.
I think you just have to go back and listen to episode, what was it, 11, 12? When did we start? When did we do the investigative?
I was gonna go back and find the exact episode, but I didn't get around to it today.
Oh,
but it's like 100 episodes ago. It was early. It was very early in our run. So
yeah.
If you are a new listener, first of all, thank you for joining us on this ridiculous bananas program that we call the Belligerent Beavs Podcast. Please
episode 13, by the way.
Episode 13. Go back.
Heck yeah.
You should go back to episode 1, as I try to say on every episode that it is a narrative podcast, and we are epic storytellers on par with the Iliad by Homer and other works of that nature. But episode 13 was the investigative, unsolved mystery style true crime podcast episode where we first dove in to the Bernice Beaver mystery. And I believe it was that episode when we started signing off with Bring Back Bernice.
Yep.
So we
I think it was
just under 100 total episodes.
This would be 100.
This one would have been the 100th time doing it.
Yeah.
And there is some bye weeks for us in there, and of course our summer hiatus from this year. But that's close to just 2 years total of being like, hey, I feel I really want to keep giving
2 years, 1 month, and 1 week.
Because every time I think we have any kind of idea, we're like, hey, Sarah, could we do this? Could this happen? And it's like, what? And the idea is like, what if Miley took a hot air balloon into the stadium and she's already doing Party in the USA? Like, why can't that just happen at the game this weekend? So for bearing with us and just all of our dreaming and imagineering, we appreciate you so much, Sarah. And beyond that, there was a football game to be played, a very important football game against a very good team. The revenge tour continued, and for the first time, we were playing a team headed to the Big Ten. Now, I've never asked either of you to sort of rank the 10 departing schools as to who we hate the most, or even do kind of a comprehensive listing of all of the villains in this. There are just too many. If that's an activity you'd like to do, we'd love to hear it. But also, it's just everyone sucks and everyone has hurt us in so many different ways. But I think all of us sort of have a different relationship and different understanding of the teams that are leaving for the Big Ten specifically. Because that is the conference that kind of put this in motion. Of all conferences, we know the TV networks did this a lot. I'm not saying they didn't, but it is the Big Ten. And as your boy who lives in Big Ten country, or what was Big Ten country, and now they just want it to be the whole country.
We all do now.
I'm sure they're gonna annex like University of British Columbia and fucking a school in Mexico so that they can own all of North America soon. But
Universidad de Monterrey. They could do that.
I'm furious at the Big Ten. I will be furious at the Big Ten for the rest of my life. I'm talking with my therapist about how to channel that anger in a healthy way. So this is our first
Start a podcast.
Continue a podcast. Add a Substack. Like, get a different channel that's just anger all the time. But this game felt personal. It's against Chip, who I will give Chip a lot of credit. Chip has spoken out against this realignment nonsense in ways that we'd hope we had seen from more people. But he's still a person who I don't believe ever lost in Corvallis when he was the head coach of Oregon. And he's the head coach of a school in Los Angeles that is heading to the Big Ten just because they're conveniently geographically located close to USC. And that pisses me off. And I feel some type of way about the UCLA Bruins in ways that I never did before. And I usually only really thought about UCLA when we were playing them, or in like the years where they'd pop up and have a pretty good team. And I never really had any kind of disdain or negative thought towards the Bruins at all. It was kind of a team like I feel good about cheering for this team if they make the Rose Bowl against some Big Ten team or something like that. So this kind of felt like the first real fuck you revenge tour game, and the guys came out swinging. And it wasn't a perfect game, but we got the lead on our first offensive possession after turning them over. Great interception by Keely Arnold, and we didn't surrender the lead the rest of the game. I think it probably felt a little more nerve-wracking in points than it actually ever was to the guys on the field. 36-24, 36 points against a team that hadn't given up more than 17 points all year. 133 rushing yards against a defense that only gives up 65 per game. JP, you were in the building. You were there. You felt the energy. I want to start with you on just sort of what was your biggest takeaway driving home as the results set in, and on top of all that, your Beavs are 6-1 heading into the bye week and bowl eligible for the earliest time in history, and of course, rewarded with its highest AP poll ranking in the last 11 years. What was the number one thing on your mind after taking all that in?
Well, first and foremost, the team was definitely prepared and ready. There was no lull. There was no kind of dragging their feet. There was no disinterestedness. Everybody was ready to prove themselves, and I think they all did feel that they had to go out there and do that and make a statement because it was the first time we'd been playing a team that had affected the Big Ten. I also think that some of these guys grew up Beaver fans. They remember Chip Kelly. They remember the Oregon teams and the battles with them, the change in the linear trajectory that the program's endured. And while, again, I think that it was a nice kind of monkey off our back moment to beat him at Reeser. And I'll echo your sentiments that you guys have said about him having some very thoughtful perspectives around realignment, and also some insights that I think that are appreciated, like that, hey, somebody at least feels this way. Like football's going in the wrong direction, college athletics is going in the wrong direction. Here's what might make it better. But let's not forget, he's still going to benefit greatly from changing conferences. Right. It might not be forever, but he will. And being in the Big Ten at this point as a head coach isn't going to be much different than being in the NFL as a head coach. You're going to be in the circle. You're going to be in the coaching circuit. You're in. So Chip Kelly likes to talk out the sides of his mouth, sometimes both sides of his mouth. And I think that's what he's kind of doing with this.
Literally or figuratively?
All of the above. Yeah. Anyways, I thought that the offense had some great plays, some great electric plays. I think that also really, especially as we opened the game and kind of stalled on our drives, right? Of course, ASAP going out there is automatic. Yeah. And so
it has to be mentioned. He had a great game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a great game. And I love that we just didn't really leave any points on the field still through those first couple drives where we had just couldn't get it punch all the way in. Loved seeing Aiden come out there again in that third drive. That burnt his red shirt, by the way. That was
right. Official. I had that thought, and
yep.
They talked about it a little bit on the broadcast of like it's planned to just give him the third series. From here on, or I think that's been the plan for a while. And I think in Canzano's mailbag that he answered that he had spoken to both coaches and Aiden's parents, and this had actually been in the works for a while. And the red shirt's technically not burned. Like, it would be unlikely to use it again. But like, say an injury were to take place
next, yeah, right.
Any other unfortunate
freshman red shirt,
they could use it, right? But so this season will count towards his eligibility. And I have more thoughts on that if we want to get more into Aiden later. But I think we should keep it on what happened on the field on Saturday. And he did look great on that third series and led us to our first touchdown.
Yeah, he did. And I spoke with Adrian, his dad, after the game as well, and just said I love seeing him out there. He's playing great ball. Asked him about what was his thoughts on it potentially now meaning he's locked in the rest of this season. He can't sit it out and retain this eligibility for this year. And he echoed those same thoughts to me as well, that this has been in the works for a long time. It's essentially, to me, I was under the impression that this was probably part of the agreement of, keeping Aiden engaged and happy, but also ready. And so I don't think Jonathan Smith ever looked at any other options in this case. And we've said this before, you can't burn this guy freshman year. We need all hands on deck this year, everybody. Yeah. And if we redshirt him and something, God forbid, happened to DJ, I know we've got Benny G. He did a great job last year, especially being thrusted into a role that he was not expecting to have to take on a team that was accelerating in its progress. But this had been planned. This was a conversation that was happening multiple times a week to make sure everyone was on the same page about it. And yeah, I think everybody is kind of happy with what's been happening. I mean, he's been playing phenomenally. Obviously, he played a great drive. He's getting live reps in Pac-12 play against a future Big Ten program, and throwing touchdowns. I mean, that's an incredible experience for a freshman. And being able to be active and playing and learning behind DJ. I mean, it's a great scenario. And I think it's paying dividends already for him. So maybe this is twofold. Tongue in cheek, the defense played great. I think they played great against a standard quarterback. I think we have lots of work to do over the bye week against a mobile quarterback.
Dude, when Colin Schlee was in the game, I was terrified every time I saw him out there.
It was like a one juke open field. We all bit the wrong way, and he just had green grass, green turf, and so I'm a little bit concerned about that for the defense. But I do think they were active. They had high energy. Obviously, the defensive backs played great. But we got to figure out a way to contain these mobile quarterbacks, especially before we go down to Tucson.
Yep. Yeah. The UCLA quarterback reminded me a lot of the quarterback that we played with at Cal. And I think it was the backup at Cal as well. That they just insert all of this weird pre-snap motion and they have a mobile quarterback and they're not really throwing the ball. It resembled that a lot. So like you said, you hope we don't see that down in Arizona, but it seems like that is something that Bray's going to have to shore up, because that is a weakness that has certainly been exposed on this defense.
Right. Well, with Cal, Fernando Mendoza hadn't really played. And I guess in this instance, the only differences was we were doing a good job against Dante Moore. And I guess Chip had said going into the game plan is going to be both quarterbacks, sort of depending on situational things or whatever. And it's probably a fun what if for Bruins fans. I don't think even if Schlee got hurt after that 40-yard scamper where it looked like Calvin Hart Jr. had him dead to rights and he just spun out of it. Hart Jr. had a fantastic game apart from that play. But credit to Schlee, he kind of just looked like Coletto running out there, just that giant body bouncing off tackles and finding a lane and really getting going. I still think we win with some comfort, but it did kind of look like, we had game planned to stop this one guy and we were stopping him. And then this other guy keeps coming in at a pattern that I couldn't detect anything that was recognizable about when they were putting him in there and when they weren't. It's not like it was just short yardage. It's not like it was just red zone. It was just, I think, Chip reading what Bray was doing, and it's kind of a chess match. And
yeah. It felt that way.
We didn't enjoy many of Chip Kelly's exploits over the years, but I think we can all agree that the dude's designed some pretty effective running games in his career. So I think that's a tough thing. And Benny, I totally agree with you. That's an adjustment that Bray has to make. And I'm kind of glad he was challenged with it. I don't think we'll see that too much going forward. I don't think anyone else will really deploy multiple quarterbacks intentionally. I think we'll have Fafita for sure against Arizona and Shador when we play Colorado. It's just a hard look for the defense.
I think it's less about the mobile quarterback, although that is essential, but more so the pre-snap motion. That is something that this defense seems to have a lot of trouble with.
There was a lot of movement, a lot of fakes, and just a lot of reads. And when you've already game planned for someone else, that opens up some holes. And UCLA's running game was able to find those holes. And Carson Steele looked great out of the backfield. They were able to get up and down the field. But also, I think part of the design of that is once Cooper Jr. had his pick six right before halftime.
It was so fun. By the way, I was on Beaver Street when that happened. And Beaver Street was so jammed.
Did you try to run? Did you have space to run with him stride for stride like you did with Anthony Gould against San Diego State?
No, but it was a very cool environment. So yeah, shout out the stadium team and Scotty B for putting that into motion, because man, that was one of those experiences where you're like, I can't even walk anywhere, and now we're all going nuts like a mosh pit because we just got a pick six leading into halftime.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah. That's when you're like in 1 second you're annoyed at the person who's in front of you in line because it's moving so slow, and annoyed at the person behind you in line because they're probably bumping into you. And then after that, it's just oh my God, I love everyone around me because we just scored this touchdown. But my point on that was, after that pick, it was a 2+ possession game the rest of the way. If you look at our text chain during it, we were freaking out at different parts. Obviously, I get made fun of for this. I feel like I had some justification on Saturday. 11 penalties is way too many. But still, it was more than a 2-possession game or 2-possession game or more the rest of the way, I should say. So that's when the offense is scoring like that, it's 29-10. If you're Bray, and Bray's not sitting, on his headset going, yeah, let them score here, it doesn't matter. But all of those were lengthy drives that relied on their running game. We didn't give up any huge plays. We didn't get beat deep. It's just kind of all right, you guys can have these 3 really long run dominant drives, and best case scenario, you're going to lose by a touchdown because you'll just run out of time. So that's not to say that Bray was just conceding, but also just making sure that we didn't give up the play that could potentially break the game open the other way. And I think they were able to find some room between the tackles. Steele looked great as well. He was just bouncing off guys and was really hard to bring down and was a challenge for us and will be a similar challenge that we face the rest of the way. But I don't have a ton of concern now 2 days later thinking back on it. There were some frustrating broken tackles, but really I think we were more in control of the game than we really felt like we were as spectators.
Yeah, I mean, we were up. So we scored our last touchdown with about 4.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And that put us up 36-17. And like anything can happen during any game, but I feel pretty good about Oregon State being up 36-17 with less than 20 minutes to go in the game. Just with how our offense is set up, they can really grind out the clock. And we've talked about it before, but with the new rules, they can
milk the clock.
Milk the clock. Yeah. Shout out Jonathan Smith. But
this podcast is sponsored by Organic Valley.
That's but yeah, the way that the offense plays, I mean, they put it on full display on Saturday with being able to rely on the run game. Both Fenwick and Damian had really, really solid games. The offensive line did a really good job of building pretty big holes for them to run through. But then you see, there were some big explosive plays on offense too with Silas's play, or not that it was well executed, but the play where DJ just threw the ball straight up and Velling came down with it.
But Velling's second touchdown was an explosive play.
Yes,
as well.
Velling
was on the receiving end of that explosive.
Right.
By the way, that jump ball in Reeser was hilarious because everyone was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Whoa!"
That's a no, yeah play for sure. I was terrified.
Yeah.
When that happened.
But I mean, now you have Velling getting more involved. I don't know. I tweeted this out earlier today. He had more touchdowns in the last 2 weeks than like a ton of big name schools like Texas A&M, Purdue, Wisconsin. He had more touchdowns in the last 2 weeks than those teams did. So we talked about it all last year too. Like you have to get the tight ends involved, and that was sort of the last part of this offense. I think that needed to get nailed down, and it did in the last 2 games.
He is on pace. A lot of things can happen. I'm going to be irresponsible for a second. He's on pace to leave OSU as the school's all-time leader in receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is the leader with 24 and Velling has 10, and he's just over the halfway point of his second season.
Dude, he has just been balling out the last 2 games. It's been incredible. I mean, he has for the last several games, getting the scores the last 2 games. But I
love Velling. He's quickly becoming just one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon State. The only thing that was kind of concerning on the offense side of the ball is that we were 5 for 12 on third down conversions.
Yeah,
right. I mean, you want to see
but
that
UCLA's defense is good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're really good.
It's easy to nitpick because there were some offensive line penalties. Third down wasn't great, but that's a good defense.
It was a good defense. Yeah, and that's what an offensive Oregon State's caliber can do, because UCLA, from what I've seen in their games previous, is that they're going to make you beat them in one area. They're going to try to take away your strength. And with Utah, they took away the run and tried to make Nate Johnson beat them. And so they're really good at that. But when you have a dynamic offense like Oregon State, where, hey, if they're going to take away the pass, then fucking feed the rock to Fenwick and Damian, and they'll put the team on their back, and vice versa. I think that you'll see a lot of these hyped up defenses that Oregon State's going to play not look as good against Oregon State. And I think we probably have played the 2 best defenses in the conference. But going forward, the other thing that I think is important, and I know we'll talk about this more next week, but when you look at the Arizona game, and a lot of people are freaking out about that, and I think rightfully so, right. Washington and USC both had fairly big leads on Arizona, and then they let Arizona creep back in. Oregon State, the way that they play, when they get up, they really have to make a lot of mistakes for them not to walk out winning the game. So it was nice to see that on full display with UCLA. I do agree with you, Terry, that this game felt different. And the fact that UCLA is going to the Big Ten, just like at game day, it just reinserted that sort of painful animosity towards what's going on. I mean, there wasn't a lot of sympathy from those fans, I'd say. So there is like that vengeance factor that was always there, but came back even more strong after dealing with that and then playing UCLA. So like fucking good. I'm glad that we sort of put their face in the mud. The fact that they gave up 36 points, but then the fact that they were down 29-10, they're a top 20 team.
Yeah.
Those players, those coaches, those fans have to be pretty fucking frustrated at being down by that much. And that was
essentially eliminated them from any conference championship hopes.
100%. Yeah. I mean, they have they're 1-2 in conference now.
Right. Yeah. That was even a Duck fan I know, who I will not name because I don't want people I know to get shamed. But was like, I feel like your game is the bigger game this week. Like there's the stakes of a number 7 versus number 8 team who are both undefeated is always going to be huge. But when Oregon's, I think Canzano phrased it well. Washington now has a mulligan for the rest of the season. Oregon doesn't. But now UCLA is just done.
Yep.
And we're still in it. So the Oregon State UCLA game essentially was like, winner still has championship hopes, and the loser can hope for maybe a New Year's Six at large. But probably you're looking at the Holiday Bowl as like a best case. And that's big. That's big in a season like this. And I think Lindgren and the offense deserve a ton of credit. You take Coop's defensive points away. That's still 29 points put up by the offense, which would have been 30 had they opted to kick an extra point instead of go for 2, which didn't work. But yeah, it's a big game, and now we got 2 weeks to talk about Arizona, and I think it shapes up well. Arizona will also get their bye week next week, and so I do feel good that the coaching staff has 2 weeks to talk about Arizona and grind the tape. I don't know how much Arizona you guys want to talk tonight. We have a Vegas recording on the books for next week. I don't know how coherent or on topic we'll stay at that recording, but I think we should talk a little bit more about this game that we just played.
I'm sorry, Terry. The last thing that I want to say regarding this game is, you look at the schedule before the UCLA game, and the way Arizona is playing right now, maybe you have 1A and 1B, but the schedule gets progressively easier until you have Washington and Oregon game at the end of the season. I believe going into that Washington game, if we win the rest until that game, we're 9-1 going in and playing Washington, if I'm not mistaken. And so
we would be.
I don't like.
They say don't think ahead, but I'm not going to stop you from doing it. dream all you want, Playboy.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like you go into playing Washington at Reser, a team that left for the Big Ten, a team that is in. You talk about like one of the big things about teams going to the Big Ten is like the regional rivalry. So they're the first team that's going to the Big Ten that has a regional rivalry. If we're 9-1 going into that game, that has number one Pac-12 championship game implications written all over it. But the environment at Reser is going to be something like we've never seen before if that happens. And so like desperately the Beaver fan wants that to happen. And so like you look at the schedule and you have UCLA, Arizona, at Colorado, which an away game is always going to be tough, but Colorado looks fairly vulnerable as of recently. And then Stanford, and then you have your tough games. And so when you look at UCLA and Arizona, those are certainly the tougher of those 2 quote unquote easier games. And so to be able to knock or check mark one of those off is amazing, but there's a sigh of relief in that too. Like, okay, we've one check down of the games that we should be winning, but some of them scare you a little bit, and Arizona is that other team on that list.
It's always going to be scary. There's always going to be more talented opponents coming up, but I don't want to lose sight of what this team just accomplished for a lot of things. Number one, I tried to look this up today. Historical records of rankings and rankings that apply are a little bit iffy, and I did this over the course of a couple hours as I was finishing the tail slap for Cream. I don't think we've ever beaten consecutive ranked opponents at Reser. And part of that is I don't think that opportunity has come where 2 straight home games you have a top 25 ranked opponent. But I think anytime that did happen, it was either 1-1 or 0-2. So having number 10 Utah come into Reser on a Friday night on FS1 and really take care of business in a game that Oregon State totally controlled. Go down business trip to Strawberry Canyon, take care of business in a game that you pretty much had control of, maybe except for a couple moments in the second quarter or so. And then to have another ranked team come into Reser and have another wire-to-wire win. And so that's 2 straight home games, 2 ranked opponents, and 2 victories. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of Reser Stadium. If someone can correct me on that, I would love to hear it, because I wanted to put that in the tail slap this morning, and I wasn't able to definitively say, because I was looking at 1930s box scores and shit, and I don't know the AP poll and how what's recorded and things. I need to go to the Historical Society and get on the microfiche for things like that. But even the 2000 team just didn't have that opportunity. And the scheduling made that, a difficult thing to accomplish, even if you got the opportunity. And 28 straight losing seasons, of course, you're not going to have many winning streaks against ranked opponents at home or on the road during those times. But I think 2 straight wins at home against ranked opponents is something that we should not be taking for granted, as well as one of my favorite sights and sounds from the weekend after the game, the video of Akili Arnold in the locker room after the game. He's yelling, "Where's my pins? Where are my pins?" for a while. And then I think Fuaga and some of the other big linemen line up, and he bowls his helmet, and they all fall down in celebration of us going bowling. And Dashel then shared that this is the earliest that bowl eligibility has ever been clinched. Part of that because we haven't had a bye week yet, so we've had 7 games, so the chance to win 6 is earlier than it has been in some seasons. But still, bowl eligibility on October 14th. When we started the show in May of 2021, we were coming off the 2-5 COVID season. We hadn't been to a bowl since 2013. Rashad Reynolds, shout out, former guest of the show, MVP of the Hawaii Bowl in 2013. It had been a long road. And I just don't want people to forget how genuinely, sincerely, and legitimately, justifiably excited everyone was when we clinched bowl eligibility in 2021. When we got to bowl eligible by the bye, we had a later bye in 2022, and also the significance of going to a bowl and beating the shit out of an SEC team. Now, bye week after 7 games, 6-1, bowl eligibility, the earliest date in school history. Remember where this team was when Jonathan Smith came in. Remember where this team was when Gary Anderson / he who must not be named was out the door and said it doesn't matter who they hire. And also, as fucked up as that statement was, a lot of people did not disagree with him at the time that statement was made.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at right now. I know it's bleak. I know there are suits trying to destroy us, and who knows what happens next. But you've got a bye week and 2 full weeks to just enjoy being here and to enjoy this moment and to enjoy what's happening. That last year we were just begging for stronger quarterback play, all due respect to Ben Gulbranson and Chance Nolan, who threw 16 touchdown passes and 13 interceptions all of last year. DJ and Aiden so far, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That prayer has been answered, and this is the reward. And that's exciting as all hell. And 9:30 p.m.'s kickoff Central Time 2 weeks from now. I'm already freaked out about it. I'm already terrified. Oh my God. I'm for sure gonna need a midday nap for that one.
That is a game that is I'm there with you. It's you can already feel the butterflies. It's every game here on out is huge for us. It's massive. And one thing that a common theme that I had over the weekend was the notion that Oregon State and Washington State fans are getting annoying. People are like, I get where you guys are coming from, but you guys are just becoming insufferable. Yeah. Fucking good. If that's what we can do.
You guys are way too upset about people trying to murder your program. Can't you just ease up a little bit?
Yeah. So
fuck off.
Good. If that's an emotional string that I can pull on somebody who is in a way embracing Oregon State, Washington State potentially getting left behind, then fucking good. And that is going to continue as long as this team keeps winning, because those people are going to be forced to talk about Oregon State football and the Oregon State athletic program and everything that's going on right now. So in a way, like, Oregon State is playing for their future and also the future of Washington State. So every game is so fucking important right now. I can sympathize with why you're already nervous about 2 Saturdays from now.
Right. I'm not nervous about next Saturday.
Oh, I mean, I'm nervous about how much trouble we're going to get into.
Next Saturday is a guaranteed dub because we will be at Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anything else on football that you guys want to make sure we get to? We've got some honors. JP, I'll let you go first before we talk about some of the Oregon State award winners from this past week, as there are 3 of them.
I want to just first point out, and I think that this is a good recipe for when our defense, one way or another, maybe has some leaks or holes to fill. When our offense can score and put points on the board after a turnover we do get, it's massive. And that's what we did on Saturday. All 3, one of them was a pick 6, so that helps. But on the other turnovers, we put points on the board with a field goal and a touchdown. So that is really one of the, I think, a big difference with this team offensively that we previously had not been able to do when we had a nice defensive stand or a big defensive play. It wasn't always a given that we got points on the board. And kind of looking back to the beginning of the year when I talked about Everett Hayes being a potential impact player, it was really, like I said, about the kicker and the kicking game. And if we had a kicker we could trust to punch it through, if the drive stalls, it'll be really important to finish those long drives, to finish drives after turnovers. And we did that really well on Saturday. So hoping to see that trend continue. Also, one of those plays, we got to shout him out. No one said anything about Andrew Chatfield's pick.
Yes.
I can't believe Benny did it.
How did we forget that?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Best play of the season.
He looked like a safety coming down the side there. Like he had another gear. That was a good play by I think it was UCLA's tight end who chased him down, but made a good tackle to get him out of bounds. But he looked great.
He showed his burners on Coop's pick 6 too. He was the one that was leading the blocker downfield. So, man, Chat can do it all.
That also, I mean, that was a great pressure by Isaac Hodgins, who got some contact on Moore's arm. I do think this was the best pressure we have brought all season. Multi-sack game for Kelvin Hart Jr., which was great to see. Sione Lolohea was all over the place, and he was named Pac-12 Defensive Lineman of the Week. Cooper Jr. had a complete game, was named Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week. And then the big guy on the other side, who just got a lot of love, was named to the Senior Bowl's midseason All-American team. Lise Fuaga was named Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Week. So a lot of notice being paid to the Beavs, but defense was great, and I'm glad you brought up the field goals, JP. I think Atticus had a great game. He's kicking with a lot of confidence, and I love the aggression when a coach decides to go for 2, but a 37-24 is just a sexier box score than 36-24, and we know ASAP would have buried it. And what did you see the dance after his first field goal? It was kind of like a little like a little like shimmy fist pump, like with the shoulder, whatever. Next time ASAP scores, I don't know if he celebrates after extra points. He should, because he's swaggy. But look, or just rewatch the highlights, because the camera caught it perfectly, and it was like a first quarter field goal with like 11 minutes left in the first quarter, and he was swagging out a little bit, and I love that in a kicker. I absolutely love that shit. And while we're on special teams, shout out Josh Green, who had a great game punting the ball as well, with averaging more than, I think it was 42.7 yards averaged on his 3 punts.
And doing it while getting absolutely lit up by the lineman from UCLA.
I'm glad we haven't gotten to the refs yet, because if we got to them earlier, we could have spent an hour and a half bitching about the refs. I will say I didn't look this up. I didn't have time to today. I wanted to. But when I think that line judge got hurt early in the game, on one of the, I think it was our second interception, and I think it was
it was Chatfield.
It was interception. Yep. Yeah, it was Chatfield's interception. And like non-contact, like one of those, like you just see it happen. You're like, oh, that's bad. So I don't think he returned. And I think when that just happens, the officiating crew is then just a man short. So
No, they said they had a replacement.
They did have a replacement.
They don't get off the hook. They were
I'm not trying to put him off the hook. I'm just trying to search for reasons. But it was back-to-back plays when Josh Green got destroyed. No roughing the kicker called, and then on the first play, McCartan has it should have been his 4th sack of the year. And he gets blocked behind Moore, makes a great move to get his arm up over the lineman and down onto Dante Moore's throwing shoulder and brings him down, and they call a face mask. And in real time, I guess, but like there's multiple officials watching that, and you can see on the replay clear as day he gets no part of Moore's face mask.
And he's showing the ref on like the gigantic screen. Yeah.
Right. And it's just like
it's clear.
And that kind of stuff too, like you can tell the way a quarterback's head moves, you can tell when there's a face mask or not.
Yeah.
And so it was like we should have had a first down with the ball. And then it should have been for like 2nd and like 23 deep in their own territory at UCLA that had the ball like way like around like midfield or something. So we should have even had more sacks. We should have had more possessions and more yards, but they couldn't take it away from us.
I did see an interesting take today, and that was those two, the no call and then the bad call in consecutive plays was actually a good thing because it woke the crowd up, and the crowd just was pouring it on the refs, and that has a way of rejuvenating the team. And I think that there is some sense in that, but I have to.
We did get 2 more sacks after that happened.
Eric Ori and I were chatting on Twitter today. Eric Ori was tight end for Oregon State back in 86 and 87. And he said this of Reser Stadium on Saturday. It was the loudest he has ever heard Reser/Parker Stadium in his 30 plus years of going to games.
Yeah, it was really loud. It was really loud. I would say it maybe got louder at some points against Utah when it comes to like how loud it can get, but the baseline loudness was very consistent all game long. There was never a moment where the crowd lost energy and had to really bring it back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, the noise really stood out with Cooper's pick 6. I mean, it just sounded like the roar of Penn State Beaver Stadium, 110,000 person crowd. I mean, it was noticeable on TV. And if you haven't seen and re-listened to the clip of the play-by-play calling that play, it is awesome. They just yell, "Oh no," as they see Cooper breaking on the ball, and I mean, he was gone before he even got it.
Big Dave was speaking to that as well. He was like, "I've been to ACC, SEC games. Reser rivals all of them, if not better."
Wow,
no cap.
Wow,
yeah.
We are lucky. It is a very, very special community that we are lucky to be a part of.
And also, just one final note then before we transition is that, dude, I think we do almost inherently assume that he's getting his shine, but DJ deserves some shine as well. That guy has been balling, absolutely balling, and I think putting together all the pieces that we were hoping he would and were assuming he could. It's very clear that it was a comfort thing. It was just a settling in, feeling out the players, that his teammates, the coaches feeling him out, the play calling, and I mean, we're seeing it all click right now at the most like critical juncture of the season. So
he's having a great season as an Oregon State quarterback.
You remember after the San Jose State game where we were like, oh, whoa, this feels way different. DJ's just in control of the game. I don't worry. And then there are a couple games where you're like, he's not having his best game. He's making some, bad decisions, not being super accurate. But now, like after the UCLA game, I was like, I had that same feeling that I had after San Jose State, where I was like, okay, like I feel so comfortable when he has the ball in his hands. Yeah. Big shout out to DJ. And I think you're right. We overlook him because we just think it's the foregone conclusion, but he deserves his.
And I mean, through 7, over 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns against 4 interceptions, had 5 more touchdowns on the ground. He leads the team in rushing touchdowns. Fenwick has 4, Damian has 3, and DJ has 5. So 20 total touchdowns from an Oregon State quarterback in 7 games with a great defense behind you. You know, that's a recipe that we've been begging for, and it's here. And no doubt that he can keep it going. It looks like he and Silas have really developed a rapport, and he's also spreading the ball a lot. I would like him to throw 2 more touchdown passes to Isaac Hodgins before the season is over so I can win the bet that doesn't have any value or money attached to it. I just want the Isaac Hodgins touchdown counter to hit 3. And it was brought to my attention this week. Does that include defensive touchdowns? If Isaac were to get a scoop and score, you say yes, Benny. I was ready to say no, because I think that the spirit of the bet was that he was going to be intentionally utilized on offense to the point of getting 3 touchdowns. But I mean, we'll take what we can get. Like, this is a podcast that celebrates Silas Bolden, who has like over a mile's worth of yards right now. When you add receiving yards, rushing yards, kick return yards, punt return yards, just all purpose yards. That's the other thing. I want a Silas Bolden passing touchdown before the end of the season. Maybe the Stanford game. Jonathan Smith, if you're listening, I know you are. But it's a good problem to have. We'll hash it out in the pod when and if an Isaac Hodgins defensive touchdown comes. But when I made the bet with myself, I did have offensive touchdowns in mind as he lines up as a fullback and has gone out for passes. So that's a cost I'd be happy to eat, even if you were to get 2 scooping scores. Or one of the defensive lineman pick sixes are the fucking best. And well, it's kind of a tweener defensive lineman linebacker with Chatfield. I really wanted him to take that one to the house. That would have been so fun.
Dude, we have a problem, guys. We have a problem. And that is that this Oregon State football team is just far too stacked. And I say that because
it's too likable because we can't talk about everyone in a 2 fucking hour episode.
We have mentioned Silas's name in 1 sentence on this episode. We've been recording for an hour and a half almost. And that, I just have to say, he is the most electric player I've ever seen at his level of football that I can remember. And maybe I'm being biased, but like every time he touches the ball, he's like superhuman.
JP, please play 5 seconds of the electric field.
Just shout out to him.
I haven't given you enough to do tonight. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
The skills that he brings to the table is just incredible.
Yep. Yeah. And also, he's a great dude. We were catching up after the game, took a photo with him, Mini Bebe, and signed a football for him. Like, I mean, just, really, really engaging for the kid, and good conversationalist as well. So great player on and off the field. Shout out Silas.
I know he's an elite route runner, but like for him to get that wide open on that play, like UCLA, you can guard anybody you want. When you line up on defense, you can choose to guard anyone you want, and that's the dude you're gonna let run free into the defensive backfield. And then it was the next one. They're like, oh, we'll let Velling do it. There's no way this giant white guy burns us. And it was. Those 2 touchdowns almost looked like the exact same play, just with Velling running the same route that Bolden did. But
correct me if I'm wrong, but on the Silas touchdown, it wasn't a blown coverage. It was he just juked him essentially, right? It was just sort of a misdirection, and then all it took is 1 misstep by the cornerback, and he was 5 yards down the field.
That is all it takes.
Yeah.
And why are teams still kicking to him? I know he didn't bust one against UCLA, but he had a few great kick returns against Cal. And maybe it's like your kicker doesn't have the strength to get it deep in the end zone, because he's taken a couple out of the end zone, but none super deep. And it's just like these are just traditional kickoffs right to Silas. And I'm like, what?
Don't complain.
There is. I'm not complaining about it. I'm questioning the integrity of this opposing special teams coordinators who are apparently too good for this conference and are going to the Big Ten and to the ACC later. Sure. And they're just kicking straight to Silas Bolden. So if anything, it's a criticism. It's like I think there was one kick return that UCLA defended super well, and they got Silas before he got to the 20. But like the other two times, they got him right around the 25, like where it would have been anyway. And I'm like, what is the benefit of doing this? The only benefit is that he doesn't fucking burn you. That was maybe not to go completely back to last year, but we had that great episode about the amazing comeback against Oregon. One of the biggest mistakes that Oregon made was just they had a 31-17, they had a 34-17 lead after kicking a field goal, and they kicked it right to fucking Silas, who took it right to the 50, added on a 15-yard penalty, and then we're in the end zone like 3 plays later.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He has that ability. Just kidding. Take everything I said and throw it out to the garbage. Please keep kicking to Silas Bolden. He's not going to hurt you. Like he's one of the most dangerous players with the ball in his hands. And God, I love any situation where you can get him the ball, rushing, receiving, returning, hopefully passing. I want a Silas Bolden passing touchdown before the season ends. I need one, Jonathan. Come on.
The closest thing that I can remember that would be to the same level of Silas would be James Rodgers, where like when he got the ball, same sort of thing. You're like, oh, he could do anything. Yeah. Silas just is like more electric, it seems like to me.
It does. I think Silas might have. I feel like Silas seeks out contact a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think James had more James has had more breakaway speed than almost anyone we've ever watched. But I think Silas is close in that regard. You can't really line up players in different primes or whatever, but seeing them in a foot race, 09 James racing against 2023 Silas would be must-see TV. But like Silas will dish out punishment a little bit for a smaller player, and backs it up too, and he talks a lot more shit, which of course
he does
love on this podcast.
Oh, it's so great.
And just it's obviously everyone is playing great, but like when he scores a touchdown after the sun goes down and the lights turn off and it's the orange LED light show happening, it just like hits different when he's the one with the ball in the end zone going crazy.
Yeah. Watching him play is like you've put your DVR at 1.2 times the speed, it seems like.
Or like the one time we did this podcast super fast and we were talking about like this, and we ended the entire last segment of the show when I was listening like this. I was like that guy at speed, but also way more curated and under control because he's amazing and better than we are in every possible way. Silas Bolden, we love you. Silas Bolden for president, Silas Bolden for Blitnikoff, Silas Bolden for #1 overall draft pick in the NFL draft and all fantasy drafts in perpetuity once you make the jump, Silas. But please stay in Corvallis forever.
You're missing one. Yeah, there's one thing he could still earn if he sticks it out. One thing you haven't
Heisman.
Mentioned. No, even better.
National championship.
Even better.
Bebe's Hall of Fame.
Bebe's Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah. I thought that was a foregone conclusion.
I think that's coming. I feel like the integrity of our board of trustees and Hall of Fame committee, it can't be in season. And he's got. I was saying, I'm not asking for you to nominate him. I'm saying he has to stick around. That's true.
To get to it.
That's true. But baby, of course, the most prestigious honor. Forgive my foresight, JP. All right, let's move.
Shame on you.
The rest of this, not super quickly because we need to spend some time on some of these. But let's go to the volleyball court. I still don't have a great name that syncs up for this, but the volleyball from the gridiron to the volleyball. And Coach Lindsey Bohonik's team, who had probably the best weekend in the young and developing Lindsey Bohonik era. Oregon State sweeps the Arizona schools at Gill, first time since 2017, including a stunning, absolute banger of an upset against number 19 ASU. I don't know if you guys caught the footage of the final point that Oregon State Athletics put out on Twitter, and Oregon State Volleyball tweeted out as well. It was awesome, and it looked and sounded like Gill was lit for this. And this is a team going into the weekend, we're still searching for its first conference win, had been playing better than we've seen from this program in years past. Yeah. Obviously, when the Coach Bohonik hire was made, it was like there's a lot of work to be done here. We're not expecting a national championship in year one, but it's awesome that the Beaver Dam is showing up at Gill, supporting this team and these student athletes, and that they not only got the upset against a really good Arizona State team who had only lost one game before this weekend, this year, one game. There was no hangover with it, and they beat Arizona the next game. And that just shows like signs of like really important growth and the foundation building that you want to see in year one of a new era. And they were well rewarded for it, as Mikhail Vernon, who is the sort of offensive leader of the team, absolute beast, had 19 kills in both contests, was named the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week earlier today. And also Ryan White was named the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week earlier today. So Beaver Volleyball sweeps the Arizona schools and sweeps the Pac-12 Player of the Week honors. Congrats, nice. Beaver Volleyball.
Yeah, yes, totally.
That's ladies.
Let's
that's
go.
Fucking awesome. And I feel badly that we haven't created enough space and time on this podcast to talk about this team more, because I think year one of, I don't know if we can call it like rebuilds, but building eras is always super interesting. But obviously this team got some wins early in the season and then had a tough stretch in conference play. But for them to be at this point in the season, show that they're still playing hard, getting a pretty good home field or home court advantage with people showing up at Gill and being loud, that's fucking fantastic. And to get the conference player of the week honors, like I can imagine what these girls have gone through on this team that has had to lose a lot to get to where they are now. And that has to feel good. And my hat goes off to that team and to Coach Mahonik. And to what she's building there. I want to get to a volleyball game so bad. And I think this is signs that this program is headed clearly in the right direction. And there are exciting times ahead.
For sure. And coming at the right time, too. It seems like college volleyball in general is on the rise right now. I mean, you look at Nebraska, who they sold out their football stadium
sweet.
That was awesome. And so like,
didn't Iowa State do something
that the volleyball team?
University of Iowa had their women's team play at their football stadium. It was an exhibition against DePaul. They sold something like I think before the game, I saw that like 60,000 tickets had been sold.
Jesus, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean so it's great to see that the Beaver fam is getting involved with our volleyball team too. It's just in general, like I feel like the Beaver fam is out in full force, and doing that just helps these teams reach their potential, and having that good home field advantage is great. But shout out to the volleyball team.
And don't use the football team's bye week as a reason to not be loud, because volleyball is hosting the Bay Area schools at Gill this weekend. Friday, 7 p.m. against Stanford. That game is on Pac-12 Network, so you can watch it anywhere. I'm going to try to watch it.
Dude.
7 p.m. Pacific time, and then against Cal on Sunday at noon Pacific time.
Oregon State, Stanford volleyball, all time. I don't think we've ever beat them in the history of our volleyball program.
For real?
Yeah.
Hold on. This is the part of the podcast where we look things up.
There's some old
JP,
record.
You're a resident volleyball player. Keep talking.
Yeah. Looking back historically, there's a couple that don't have any like outcome. But Stanford is historically insanely good. And are always ranked, are always playing well. But I'm pretty sure we've never beat them in the 20 plus years of our volleyball program existing. So we've got the momentum. We've got the big match against them Friday night. So all the more reason to show up and not miss what could be a very exciting first.
I'm guessing you are looking at the same information I'm looking at right now. But yes, according to OSUBeavers.com, the women's volleyball history versus Stanford from October 1st, 1999 through the last meeting, which was November 23rd, 2022. The Oregon State's record is 0 wins and 34 losses, a home record of 0-17, and a away record of 0-7. The winning streak says 27 straight losses, so maybe.
Wait, hold on.
2005 doesn't have the outcome entered.
It's because it was our freshman year and JP was yelling at everyone.
So that's our records, which are incomplete, I guess. I've heard this was like lore while we were in school, is that Stanford had always beat us. And I'm on Stanford's website right now, and their history of the matchup. We also haven't beat them since 1981, as far back as they're tracking. To make matters maybe better or worse, we are 0-69 against Stanford all time.
We have to leave that L.
Dude.
We have to leave the L at 69 before they go to the ACC
I just realized
later.
this. I just realized this. We're all going to be in Vegas on Friday night. We have to find a sports book.
We have to bet on it.
We're going to bet on this, and we're
put the mortgage on OSU.
The sports book at the Flamingo will be all eyes on Oregon State Stanford volleyball.
Yes.
And then afterwards, we'll get to put 1-69.
Yes, forever.
We'll make stickers.
I will make
1-69 forever stickers.
1-69 forever.
T-shirts, everything, koozies.
That is also pretty interesting that two different university websites have such different records published on their accessible web pages. I have no idea how that happened, but whatever. Benny, you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, just like 2-3 sentence answer from you guys. I have a question. Now that we have sort of
that we finalize our Friday night Las Vegas plans.
Yeah, where are we going to dinner? No. What do you guys think the outcome is going to be? So Pac-12 and Pac-2, I guess, are in mediations. Looks like there's going to be something that gets worked out there. Pac-2 doesn't seem like it's in as bad of a position as what it was when Stanford and Cal bolted for the ACC for the worst deal in the history of business or sports or anything else. Do you think Stanford and Cal come knocking on our door to see if we'll let them back in the house?
You want a 2 to 3 sentence answer?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We can get into it more next week since it's a bye week.
That's true.
I'm
going to say no. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying I don't think they will. Mainly because the people who make these decisions are too egotistical.
Yeah.
Are too greedy.
And the people at Cal are just too dumb.
And at Stanford, money doesn't matter as much, I don't think.
No.
It's the same reason why, like, everyone on Fox and ESPN is scared to say the types of things that, like Chip Kelly said, that's just like very marginal, low-level support for Oregon State and Washington State. They have egg on their face for this. And I think Calford, as we can refer to the two of them, is a little bit less. But for them to call Oregon State and Washington State and for them to say, hey, Oregon State University and Washington State University,
you guys were smarter than us.
University and the University of California, Berkeley need your help. They're not going to do that. And also it would involve a university president admitting that they're wrong.
Oh, true.
And in this entire process, none of these people will admit that they're wrong. And I don't think we'll ever see any of these soulless, brainless, greedy, perfumed, worthless bureaucrats ever admit that they were wrong at any point.
Yeah.
Perfume.
Was that 2 to 3 sentences?
That was like 2 to 3 hours.
That was 2 to 3 run-on sentences.
Oh, I'm awake now again.
Yeah, it's the morning.
I'm sorry. I have thoughts and feelings.
No, but I'm in agreement. I don't think that they would come back. I don't think they come clawing back. But I do envision a very likely possibility. So that's like a very unlikely reality.
They're perhaps thinking about possibly maybe doing something kind of different.
But I could see a scenario where Oregon State and Washington State get the Pac-2 figured out, and they don't join. They don't leverage their assets and financials to join a new conference, but instead rebuild the Pac as they have been publicly stating their intentions to be. Where the ACC does implode and Stanford and Cal are left out again, and there's only one West Coast conference that makes sense for them to join. Will they join? Not if it's the Pac, whatever, but they will if it gets renamed. I'll give you that.
Right. Not that this is a compromise, but I could see Oregon State and Washington State playing as the Pac-2 next year and Stanford and Cal being on both schedules. Because I think Stanford and Cal's schedule, they know what conference they're going to, but I don't think that schedule's totally figured out. I don't know what their non-conference need is. Canzano had an interesting article about this. I don't think either Stanford or Cal were on the list of FBS schools that still needed games for next year. There's actually a pretty interesting list. That could be part of next week's episode with it being a football bye week. But I wouldn't be surprised if we played them in some kind of non-conference thing and just out of a matter of geographical convenience.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I do second, I guess, the point that internally they're probably wanting or wishing that they didn't leave because the tables have turned a little bit since they did.
It didn't make sense when they did it. At least with the Big Ten shit, it's like, okay, you greedy dumbass, but I can see the money. I know 30 million is more than whatever. I know 60 million 10 years from now is more than X or Y or whatever. The fucking ACC thing was never like, oh, you guys got a bag. You nifty grifters. It was just like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
They took like 40% revenue share for a conference that is definitely imploding right now.
Right, where the three best teams are like all actively searching out, and one of them's bringing in Saudi money.
Yeah.
But you have to also imagine that they made that decision on some sort of insights, or they had some educated guess as to what was about to unfold. It would be the most incredible thing to have somebody do a tell-all at some point about everything that has transpired.
Hey, there's going to be, if they want to keep taking us to court, they're going to have to give up Discovery.
That there's no way it's going to court because of that.
I know. I hope it does, though, baby.
But I do think that there could have been a point where there was nothing left for Oregon State and Washington State until somebody found the loophole or somebody found the last thing to hang their hat on, and it's now scaring the shit out of everybody that's left because they thought no one was going to find it, or they didn't find it themselves. We found some sort of buried treasure that had everyone else's jaws hit their desks, and they were like, fuck.
And now we're the assholes.
We're insufferable
for having the audacity to want to exist. Sorry about that, world. I had a thought, but I don't care.
All right, moving on.
See you later to that segment. Real quick on the pitch, men's soccer does drop a tough one to Portland by a score of 2-1. Those pesky Pilots. Merlo Field remains a difficult place to play, one of the best soccer programs in the country, and the men's soccer team will bounce back. Women's soccer looked pretty impressive in a 0-0 draw against Arizona at Lorenz, the fourth clean sheet of the season for our favorite goalkeeper, Haley Cole. How have you not called her goalkeeper yet? I'm sorry. That's Haley. I'm sure you've gotten this before. If not, we would like to dub you goalkeeper. We hope
this should be our new closing.
What? Just goalkeeper? I have a closing for tonight.
Start goalkeeper.
Starting goalkeeper.
Good luck scoring against the goalkeeper. That goes really good with the furnace jokes I was making at the top of the episode. Anyway, the goalkeeper gets her fourth clean sheet of the season. Oh, speaking of Haley Cole, go to the recap page for this on oscbeavers.com. It's the cover image of it is them like huddled up with their fists in the middle, and it looks like Haley is the one who's talking, and McKenna has a very amused look on her face, and like other people are laughing too. And I just want to know what Haley said in that pregame speech to get that kind of reaction out of her teammates. So maybe Coach Sinicola will let us in on that secret. If that's something that needs to stay within the confines of the team, we understand. But another great game for Haley. Hashtag goalkeeper. McKenna also found the woodwork in that game, rattled the crossbar, but not the net. And unfortunately, that's just another draw for the team, still looking for their first conference win of the season, and they're running out of runway to do so. And also over to the hardwood, I mentioned this earlier, Oregon State women's basketball conference schedule hasn't been posted yet, so we can't tell you what weekend we are looking for our semi-annual, occasionally annual, kind of whenever we're able to do it and think of it, basketball summit. But not to be buried. Make your way out to Gill Coliseum, legendary Gill Coliseum, on October 29th for the women's basketball exhibition against Western Washington. The game, which is free this year as it has been in the past, courtesy of Oregon State Athletics. This will tip off at 1:30 p.m. Fans will have a chance to support the community of Maui, which supports the Beavs each year at the annual Maui Classic with an optional donation. All donations will support Hope Chapel's emergency short-term programs that help families in crisis as the Maui community continues to recover from the devastating wildfires from earlier this year. So if you do not yet have plans on October 29th afternoon at legendary Gill Coliseum, a chance to make a donation that will really go a long way, and also a chance to get your first look at Scott Ruick's women's basketball program for this 2023-24 season. I would love to be there. I can't, but I will be feeling the FOMO that day and hope as many of you can make it out as possible. Go Beavs. Thank you, women's basketball and Oregon State Athletic Department, for putting together a great event and supporting a great cause, as you always do.
Yes.
I am excited to see the two of you in Las Vegas at the end of this week. And it's not just the two of you. Super secret producer Skinder will be there. Aaron Balake will be there. The Wu-Tang Clan will be there. We're all hanging out. We're staying at the same hotel, and we have the same plans. We'll be us and the RZA, the Jizza, Ghostface Killer, Inspector Deck, Raekwon the Chef, Old Dirty Bastard, you got Master Killer, and the Method Man. We'll all be pretty much inseparable. They've been on the pod the entire time too. Just haven't said anything yet. They're real shy. Benny,
I'm excited, man.
Your bachelor party is upon us. I'm so happy that it worked out this way. We're just gonna be there, and we're not gonna miss a Beaver football game to do it. We're gonna watch the Oregon State volleyball game on Friday night, and then
we'll probably watch Wazoo beat Oregon in Eugene. I am going to put money on that game. It might be when we're at Wu-Tang.
I'm so excited to just throw down on the most ridiculous parlay with you. I'm going to start thinking of parlays tonight. I can't.
Oh, I'm going to look up the lines.
No, you can't prep a parlay. You just have to go off your gut feeling.
We're coming. No one's ever thought to look at the lines before going to Vegas, JP. We're coming to town prepared. We're going to take the house. They're not. Vegas isn't ready for these guys.
Oh,
man, they're ready for me then.
All of our winnings betting each other on what do they call it? Top golf.
Yeah, Top golf.
Yeah.
And then we'll lose it all in the NFL on Sunday.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go.
What an episode.
Yeah.
What a homecoming week. What a homecoming from the legend, the myth, the icon herself, Bernice Beaver. I'm still so happy that happened, you guys. I'm so happy we beat the Bruins. I'm so happy we went to Oregon State. And I'm so happy we have this podcast. I'm so happy we're friends. And I'm so happy you're listening. Listener, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, this would be a great time to give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Leave a review if you utilize a podcast platform that allows that, such as Apple Podcast. Text review with 5 stars really helps us grow the show a lot. We really appreciate this if you shared the show with a friend and kept listening despite how long-winded or how many run-on sentences we answer very direct and short answer questions with. We really appreciate you being here and spending time with us. This has been episode 112 of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast, a special.
And no one asked for 5 seconds of 112.
Oh, shit! I play. JP, please play 5 seconds of Peaches and Cream by 112.
There we go.
I literally had it in my notes to do that. It was in the front line, and I immediately skipped to the second.
Man,
oh my God!
You would have regretted your life.
JP, holy shit.
Next week, we're going to have to request Ain't Nothing But a G Thing because the episode is 1, 2, 3, and to the 4. But 1, 2, 3.
No, it's 1.
Wait, oh no! Oh, cut that out.
Wow. No,
leave this in. The blunt is still in me.
Leave this in. Numbers are hard. Math is
science,
hard.
Baby. Math is science. Science is beautiful.
1, 3 into the 4.
We will get to 1, 2, 3, Benny, in just under 3 months from now.
We'll still be gawking over the new men's basketball uniforms.
113. There's got to be something there. I can't wait until episode 1738 to ask for 5 seconds of Fetty Wap constantly for 1738.
Hey,
that's my long-term goal.
Saint Trez is a French hip-hop band. 113.
113.
Oh,
okay,
Saint Trez.
They will be in Vegas as well next week.
Saint Trez.
They have a residency at the Luxor, I'm pretty sure. We have brunch plans with them at Wet Republic.
Paris.
Oh, that would make way more sense.
Yeah, Saint Trez. Paris.
The blunt is hitting you. The Cabernet is hitting me. It is time to end this episode. Beaver fam, you are the best. You are beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, you can follow all of us all over social media. My beloved co-host, JP Bertram on the ones and twos and in Portland, at JP Bertram on Instagram. And he's at the Trial J on Twitter. That's at the _Trial_J because he's too trial to be real. And famous now from his college game day exploits, Lee Corso, who? Pat McAfee, who? Kirk Herbstreit, who? Desmond Howard, who? It's all about Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Weehage, a.k.a. Benny with the good quaff, a.k.a. Benny Bowl Game, a.k.a. Benny Burner, a.k.a. Benny Blastoff, a.k.a. Benny Bedlam because he's fucking crazy, folks. I found it. At Benny L 1986 on all of the social media channels. I'm Terry Horstman at Terry Horstman on Twitter, at Terrence Horstman on Instagram.com. And you can follow the Belligerent Beavs at Bellig Beavs on Twitter, at Belligerent Beavs on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Blue Sky. We're on a bunch of other stuff. I think we have a TikTok. We for sure have a website, belligerentbeavs.com, and excellent merch at belligerentbeavs.com.
New merch dropping soon.
New merch dropping soon at belligerentbeavs.com/merch. Probably we're on YouTube. We're on all of the other stuff. We might even revive MySpace at this rate. So
why not?
Just follow us across. If you're on a platform, we're on that platform. Give us a follow, give us a like, and post our shit to your friends' shit, and then we'll all be friends. And that's how this works. Thank you again for listening to the show. Thank you to everyone who showed up to Reeser and were loud. Thank you to everyone who showed up to legendary Guild Coliseum for the volleyball team and were loud. You are the best part of Oregon State. Never forget that. And always remember that no matter what happens, no matter how good things are, no matter how bad things are, no matter what assholes try to ruin college football, no matter what dumbass college presidents may or may not call us back trying to get out of the ACC, see you later, dumbass deal that they made 2 months ago. Just tell them to ACC, see you later. And remember for yourself that you can't spell Chapham without hope, Hope. It was right there in the middle of Benny's Chapham flag on College Game Day. You saw it live. So, chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
I've been waiting 100 episodes to do this. Welcome back, Bernice!
And AC, see you later, folks.